Yeah.
Oh, right. Well, I've joined the ranks of people who have a book.
Oh, I
Oh
say.
my
I've got
God.
copies now.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Well, I know I published it myself, but still, here you are. I'm going to read.
I published it for her.
Yes, you did it.
There you go.
So, it's not in sections. It's got various themes in it, and they sort of segue into each other. And there's a part of it which is about pictures and about ekphrastic poems, really. So this one was actually published years ago. I think I edited it after that by Loose Muse, if you remember Agnes Meadows. So it's called The Etcher. The etcher bends over his bench in the window. Here he can deepen dark dusk into night, create holy fire or shadows of pitch, make a mist or a scatter of light. The artist bends over his bench in the window. Inside, the stipple of needle on ground, the bubble of acid, acrid stink of the ink, the creak of the press as the wheel is turned round. The artist bends over his bench in the window, bringing his image to its final state. Outside, the ripple of water and barges, while Rembrandt is drawing, is scoring the plate. Rembrandt bent over his bench in the window 350 years past, and yet still his world is alive in this Amsterdam studio, in lines bitten deep for the black ink to fill.
This is called Zach's Prayer. Little Zach, just a little scrap of a chap with a deep, very white voice, inquires, as he inquires about everything, "Why is your hair white?" He listens patiently to the explanation, how after a head injury I went white overnight. Being a good Christian child, he tells me he will pray for me, for the black to be back. I'm very tempted to dye it for the next day, just to prove his prayer right. When his fervent prayer doesn't turn the situation around, he frets. I tell him God and me are both happy with it, like this. "Really?" he asks. "Really," I affirm. "Have it your own way then, but man, it makes you look old and grim." I grin, tell him that I am what I am, but that I can live with it. "Okay," he says, "have it your own way."
Another ekphrastic poem of a kind. This is called "This is Not a Room Nor a Magritte." "Why'd you come up and see me sometime?" pouted the strawberry sofa. Floods glared on the golden boards, and outside the dogs of war barked as always. In the wings Dali twirled his Victorian villain moustache. "Caramba!" he exclaimed in comic book Spanish. "St. Freud was right. The persistence of memory opens the door to the room where Bluebeard stores his bloodied brides." The sofa sighed. "Why'd you put down that crutch and come and lie down, baby?"
That's an offer I can't refuse, Janice. I've thrown my crutches away.
You're not Dali.
Yeah, very, very nice version of the Greek.
Yes, well, it's actually a version of a sofa that
A West Slips.
Yeah.
Mae West. That's right. I've forgotten her name at the moment. Yes, and it's in the shape of her lips. And I think I got a picture of it, and it may be by a pop artist, of it set in a room with very strong perspective boards. It was just like a stage set. So I just thought, what would it say? And this is what it said.
That was at the Dali Museum.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
Dónall.
Right. I can't give you a complete history of the Second World War in the time, obviously. So this is an incomplete history of the Second World War. The doodlebug cuts Its silence deadlier than its whine. A baby crying. Where there was a house no more. A rocking hearse survives the blast. The neighbours across the road moved to a place called Death. The road had a ruddy big hole with a bus sticking out of it. Death always only a heartbeat away. 1939 and I were such good friends. Only time love walked in my door. Such a card he was, but he turned out to be a cad. Oh, he was a cad, but he was my cad. I loved the bounder. Yes, dear, yes, the war got him. He never came back. On the middle of a mantelpiece, a black and white slice of 1939. Spring is late again. Where have you been? Shyly, it smiles at me in flowers. There you go.
Oh,
That's nice.
yeah, kill a last line again there.
Yeah. Right, that's it. The end.
Right?
Yeah.
So it wasn't the history of the World War after all.
It was an incomplete history, Janice.
Oh,
I couldn't get. It was just this little woman talking to me, and and she went all over the place.
If the world has to end, it should end like that.
Yeah. And she never married anybody else again. Then, that was her big love of her life, and she just kept this picture. And then when she died, all her stuff was thrown out, including the picture of them. And you think, oh, that's what a life of man's. She also, his name was Jones. He was Welsh, and she called him Jesus Jones, because she was waiting for him in a churchyard, and she was lying on her belly with all the grass sticking into her tin summer dress, and she was reading, and he came to meet her, and she turned to see him, and a shadow came over, and he picked her up by her hands and kissed them. And she was saying, there was a tombstone saying, fell asleep in the arms of Jesus. She said, that's what I'd like to do with you. So that's how he got the name Jesus Jones.
I don't know that story before.
I thought, right. And her memory would just ramble back, forth, and of course she'd remember that time better than today. So, but you're a lovely little woman, and
Yeah, why not?
you know, that's the personal side of the war, you know.
Agnes, are you ready for us?
Yes, I have something that was preparing. It is again.
This is called Avatar in Sofia, and it's for a friend of ours who lives in Sofia, and we went to see her quite a long time ago, and she has a son. Bony knuckles grasped my gloved hand. We swung back through the People's Park. Behind us, the lights of the People's Palace receded like the lights of paradise. Our minds were full of fairy tales and happy endings, a world saved and virtue rewarded, the wonder of a race without malice. Our feet drowned in icy sludge. The boy bounded between us like a creature of the green canopy. His face shone blue under the harsh neon lighting of the hoardings round the monument. It was the best film I ever saw, he said.
Right, you don't have to forgive my Greek, because I don't know any Greek, and less Latin. This is called I Kamani Stimi. It's called The Lost Moment. The mountain places a cloud behind its head, dozes off into the blue of an afternoon. The father's shadow watches his child pedal a trike, chasing a chicken in circles, laughing hysterically. This a moment that will vanish into a Greek sky that only a passing poet will notice enough. In his head where words will reenact it endlessly, even as time fades and years vanish. And the French lady states that reality is les mensonges et les larmes. Lies and tears.